studio last night. So I left the studio probably 1 o'clock local time, and there was thousands and thousands of people still on the street celebrating. The bars, the clubs, everything. It was absolutely hopping here last night. And they've, as I said before, I mean, they've really embraced it. But last night, I think, emphasised what this World Cup means to the people over here in Russia. And I think in general, the result, of course, that it helps that. I was in Brazil 4 years ago, and you're expecting the buzz because you're in Brazil for a World Cup, but this is every bit as good as Brazil 4 years ago.
Yeah, it's true. It's, I guess, to a certain extent, of any of the World Cups you'd have been at, or any of the World Cups, I guess, that we can think of over the last 2 decades or so, when it comes to a host nation exceeding expectations, this is the one. Like, of course, Brazil will probably end up getting, like, they could get knocked out in the next round, Russia, and therefore Brazil would have had a better World Cup technically in 2014. But when it comes to exceeding expectations, that's what causes the public explosion of joy, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, exactly. It's all probably about what happens on the pitch. I think that first game, they got a handy enough game, didn't they, the Saudi Arabia game, win 5-0 at home, then they beat Egypt, and it sets them up, really. And I didn't expect them to beat Spain. Spain were very poor in the game, but the game was actually, I don't know if you saw it, any of you lads, so you were probably watching a lot of the games yesterday. It wasn't a great game by any way. The way that the World Cup has gone, we've seen so many brilliant games, but it was right up there with the very best of stories, and that was the thing that's come about from it. That we had an occasion, the noise in the stadium after the penalty shootout when Akinfeev made the second save, or the second penalty save. It was a noise that you're never likely to hear again, and that buzz then has continued straight after the game. That's continued all through the night.
Kevin, was it just watching the game? I watched the game and I watched it last night on the BBC. Was it arrogance by Spain? When they went 1-0 up, did they just kind of say, "Listen, we're going to conserve energy here. We'll pass the ball around and we'll hold out"? What did you put your finger on it? Because they just had so little incision. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah, I think it was, Anthony. So you look at all the stats, don't you? And everything's stacking up to say that Spain have dominated. They have over 1,000 completed passes, up against, I think it was around about 150 to 200 passes that was completed from Russia. Totally dominant in possession. You wouldn't want to say arrogance, but they have that way about them where, I tell you what, we'll pass you to death and we will just continue to play the way that we do it. But if you stay in a game against Spain and you think, well, I'll tell you what then, we may not necessarily score before half-time, we may not necessarily score before 60 minutes, 70 minutes, but as the game progresses, you can continue what you're doing. You're not going to hurt us, you will not get in behind us because we'll play a certain way, but we'll try and hurt you with a set piece. We may be able to counter-attack against you. That's where we can hurt you. And that was a game plan. Clearly that was a game plan from Russia. Yes, it did work. But Spain, I want to say, and I thought they were boring. I thought they were a boring watch last night. I don't enjoy watching that type of football where they're never going to hurt anyone, they're never going to penetrate anyone. And it reminded me, and I said it the other day, I said it last night, it reminds me of watching Arsenal. That game last night is exactly how Arsenal play, where they'll pass you to death off the pitch, but they will never ever, they'll never hurt you. And I personally think it's a boring watch because there's no excitement in the games.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Barney Ronay had a great line. He described it as dinner jazz football, which I think is just the perfect encapsulation of what that was last night. Almost background music to the real impact that you can have on a result. Is it as simplistic to say they don't have somebody like Xavi in the team anymore, Kev, or is there a deeper reason why the passing didn't have any incision?
Well, clearly Iniesta's not what he was. He was obviously left out. He came on with half an hour or so to go in the game. Diego Costa actually up front, Owen, you know what I think of him as well. I thought his movement was outstanding throughout the game. It was just maybe something that Andy talked about, maybe the arrogance of, look, we're just going to keep the ball. We're not going to look forward. Diego Costa's making runs off defenders. He's trying to run off in behind players. I think he had one ball in the 60, 70 minutes so that he played. He had one ball played in behind Russia's defence for him. He was just getting no service, and he was actually working hard, trying to keep himself into the game. Isco worked hard, kept trying to do something. David Silva was very poor again. Iniesta was okay. Koke had, again, if you're going on the stats, and it's something that really, really gets to me, it was about 97, 98% pass completion, but Koke did nothing. Every pass he made was 5 yards out to a fullback, whether it was playing to a centre-half. He was on the periphery through the whole game, and he just didn't get involved. And if you're looking at these players to say, yes, talented, don't get me wrong, talented players, but they offered nothing to the match. And that was Spain in a nutshell yesterday. A lot of the talented players offered very little.
I do want to get your take on what happened on Saturday between France and Argentina, because it was the game of the tournament, really. That or Spain and Portugal, the two best games.
Yeah.
And when it comes to players stepping up to the plate and Kylian Mbappe, I know I see Eamon Dunphy's getting a bit of stick on Twitter for saying that he's finally arrived on the scene, despite the fact that he's one of the most expensive players in the history of mankind. But I can see, to a certain extent, I can kind of see where Dunphy's coming from, Kev, because this is the real arrival of Kylian Mbappe to the point where he has broken the boundary of football knowledge, where people all around the world will start to recognise him like they recognise Messi and Ronaldo, and in a couple of years' time he might be at that level.
No, do you know what? His point is the most valid point he could make, because you know why? You and I and everyone that watches sport and watches football, yes, we will all know Kylian Mbappe. We would have seen him. But we have to be fair. A majority of the audience that's watching World Cup games are watching it because it's a World Cup game. They would never have heard of Kylian Mbappe. They would never watch Champions League football. So a huge majority, or a vast majority of the audience are probably seeing Kylian Mbappe for the first time. Now, all of a sudden, Kylian Mbappe has had his Maradona moment, his Trezeguet moment, or whoever it would be, or Zidane moment, whoever it would be, he's had his moment now that puts him right up alongside those greats of World Cup football, and that is why his point is so valid. To all the football fans, we know that, but a majority who's watching World Cup games are watching football because they don't have some of them don't have terrestrial TV that they're able to watch regular football. Don't have pay TV that they're able to watch PSG on a regular basis. They're not able to watch some certainly in certain cases don't watch Champions League football. So that is why he's arrived on the big stage now in a big way.
Kevin, France, what are your takes on them? You know, did the usual, kind of quiet enough in the group stages, but I remember looking at the team and saying how strong they were in various different positions. They've obviously got class. Giroud is obviously kind of like a new player. How far do you think they could go?
Yeah, Giroud, it's a good point on Giroud. Giroud is key to how they play. You know, he is at times quite limited. I don't think he's a sort of player where you put him in the same class as an Mbappe or a Griezmann. But he is key to France in what they do. He brings the best in many respects out of Griezmann and Mbappe. Very strong defensively, good goalkeeper. To be fair to Pogba is actually coming to the fore a bit now. I thought he had a brilliant game against Argentina at the weekend. Particularly, I think it suits him having Kante alongside him, that Kante will just say to him, yeah, you've got the freedom, you go and do what you want to do. I think as a balanced team, they're probably as good, if not better than anyone in the tournament, given from what we've seen against Argentina on Saturday. I think the result wasn't really reflective of the dominance from France. France should have won more handily enough. Judging them from Saturday's game, I mean, I saw the Denmark game. Denmark, it was fairly dreadful. In spells against Peru, I thought they played very well. So I think overall, if you're judging them solely on the Argentina game, now albeit it's a poor Argentina side, if we're judging them on that game and how well Mbappe played, they could go all the way. Yeah.
Just a quick word then on Uruguay, Portugal. I don't think it was as violent or as hard-hitting as people might have hoped or people might have feared, maybe, depending on your view on life, I guess. It was Uruguay 2, Portugal 1. When it comes to Godin and Jimenez, we've talked about this quite a bit, Kev, where we know how good they are, where we know how much they can smother an opposition team.
Yeah.
But was this a real affirmation of just how good these guys are, despite the fact that we watched them week in, week out with Atletico?
Yeah.
But it was kind of further affirmation that, boy, these guys are good. They will kill an opposition player if they have to, and they managed to do that with Ronaldo at the weekend. Yeah,
that's the point. That is why, just in relation to what Andy's saying there before, you know full well that if any team could stop them, it's a Uruguay team, because the defence, if you speak about the two up front, I mean, they're a very much an old-fashioned 4-4-2 team. The two lads up front work the balls off. They put the most unbelievable amount of work rate in Cavani and Suarez. Given the talent, how many times do we see talented players that aren't necessarily prepared to go out and work? Those two are just incredible, the work rate. I think they've got a well-balanced team, very disciplined throughout that side. And I said before, 2 banks of 4, difficult to break down, but they've got legs in the team, so they're able to have 2 midfielders. They're never really going to get overrun in midfield. If they are getting overrun, the two widemen in midfield will tuck inside to try to create an overload from their own point of view. Tactically, they look to me like they're the perfectly balanced side, I think. So they don't necessarily, they're not going to go and blow side away, but they could stop anyone in the tournament, and they have a bit of class on the counter-attack. So yeah, I think that game, it is France to play next game, isn't it? That game against France will be a really good game, I think, yeah.
What's your plan for the rest of the day, Kev? Are you going to watch any matches today? I presume there's going to be an element of soaking in the Moscow atmosphere for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I'll be chilling out today. Really, I've got to do a bit of studio work later on this afternoon. But other than that, it'll be a bit of a chilling out today. Nothing too major. That was my last live game yesterday, so I think I'll have a highlights game later on in the week, one of the quarterfinals. So I don't know yet which game I'm going to get because the schedule's not been sorted.
Will Moscow react to how any county in Ireland reacts to an All-Ireland win, aka the day after the win and the day after that and the day after that is just a continuous stream of drink and all that sort of stuff? I presume it's been pretty mad, is what I'm trying to say, Kevin. I presume you're...
Yeah, I tell you, it will be here in Moscow. I'd imagine all over Russia as well. It will be like an All-Ireland win here. Honestly, the scene last night, it was absolutely amazing because you're getting, it was like being in a South American country. The flags out the cars, the horns going, people flooding through the streets, the atmosphere, and I don't think they've probably seen the likes of it in Russia before. They may have, I don't know, but it's my first time here experiencing it. Speaking to a few of the Russian guys that would have been around the crew that I would be with here, they said they had no expectations coming into the tournament of the team. As you maybe said before, Owen, they've exceeded expectations beyond belief, but it's also united a country. Certainly here in Moscow last night, it was just sensational, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to bring the mood down, Kev, but we saw you were watching Mayo on GAA Go on Saturday evening. What was your initial feeling? Was it one that this is the end for this Mayo team?
No, I don't think so. I think there's probably one or two. Injuries, of course, I think have caught up with the team, I think, this week. I think, you've got lads in studio that know a lot more than me about it, but you know what, it is ultimately, and they would be considered failures if they don't go on and win an All-Ireland. That's the way that it'll be looked at. I don't look at it like that at all. I think the team has brought the county together like no other thing could. Really is, and the togetherness that the supporters have got now from the years of watching the team, I think it'll inspire the next generation of players to go and try and become what this generation of players have become, because the success they've had has been amazing. And I think there probably is maybe one more year left in them. I know I say that every year, and I'm totally biased because of that, but I think there's one or two players I think that have come into the side this year and have got better, and they will continue to get better. So hopefully there's still one or two that are of an age that can actually have an influence next season and maybe beyond that.
Yeah, well put. Just before we let you go then, just one other story back home we wanted to get your take on, and it's Jim McGuinness potentially being linked to the vacant Galway United manager's job to be the next manager there. I'm not sure what your thoughts are on this from a Jim McGuinness point of view. It's a risk for him to put himself into a managerial role, to be the man in charge in a League of Ireland club, but also is it a risk from Galway United's part, giving it to an inexperienced manager who's never been a manager at any club really? He's always been second in command or third in command.
Yeah, I think it's a total risk. I do think that from both sides. I agree with that as well. If Jim McGuinness were to take the job, I think he's stepping into the unknown a little bit. I don't know what his knowledge is of League of Ireland football. I really don't know. I would say it's probably fairly limited. But I think in general, of course, you wish him every success. My point that I've made maybe 18 months ago, 2 years ago, on Jim McGuinness still stands. He's never really coached at underage levels. He's never really coached a team. And I'm saying like a team of 11 players out on the training ground, coaching them regularly and getting the best out of them. So he'll have to learn very quickly. There are a lot of managers that have got great experience with the League of Ireland that are probably in a better position to get the job. So it's a bit left field for Galway United. Of course, you wish him all the best. I think he's a great mind. He's an incredible mind. But it is a hell of a risk from both sides to give him the job. What will the players think? What will the players take to him? I think they will. I think if you're getting into a player's mind or any sportsman or sportswoman's mind and trying to get them feeling positive about themselves, is he going to get a good coach with him? Is he going to get a good team around him that know the league, that know the players that he's going to be working with? It's not very hard to get a team around you to do that. But there will be a negative element towards him, and I think he'll probably have to maybe accept that. But hopefully that the negative element is outweighed by a real positive feeling from the players and from Galway United supporters towards him.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, I know that we said that was going to be the final point, but one final point. Just news this morning that Mo Salah signed a new long-term contract at Liverpool. The Liverpool Echo reporting that it's going to be a 5-year deal. So it looks like Mo Salah is staying put at Anfield, Kev.
Yeah, I expected it. I did expect it. I'd heard it 3 or 4 months ago that he was very, very happy there. There was no suggestion he was going to leave. He's only been there a season. The contract is meaningless if Real Madrid or PSG or Barcelona come in and offer 250 million. I would have thought Liverpool probably put a buyout clause in there. He's been that good. He deserves it. He totally deserves it. And I think he probably enjoyed his last season there at Liverpool. And I think the pressure will probably be on him into this season. What do players do to try and stop Mo Salah now? Because I know across this season, as he's got better and better, he's been the opposition players. But now going into this season, it's not the unknown anymore. You are actually going to focus on him solely to try and stop Liverpool playing. So it's a big test for him this season. But I'm pleased that he's got his new contract. He totally deserves it, yeah.
Yeah, it's great news for all Liverpool fans this morning. Kev, enjoy Moscow, enjoy the rest of the celebrations, and enjoy the rest of the World Cup. We'll be chatting to you soon, I guess, on World Cup Daily and on OTB AM.